you're now touching, and I think earlier you touched on probably an answer to the next question that I have, and that is, what does data and analytics do for my business? And I suppose you mentioned earlier about making better informed business decisions, and then you mentioned about these algorithms that potentially can help the day-to-day life and business operations. So what does that look like, again, in layman's terms, so I fully understand how I can engage with that piece of it?
So the first thing I think I would say is that it would be a mistake to think of data and analytics as something that currently sits outside of your business, because it's not. It is, if you have a fully functioning organization of any kind, any government body, anywhere that I have ever encountered, data exists because we cannot function without data, and everything is data. What the practice that doesn't exist is a conscious management of that data, and the structured translation of that into information and analytics, and turning that into an enterprise offering. I think that's the piece that's missing. But I would challenge you to say, in Anis Sudan, you consume data every single day, whether it is facts and figures about the size of Sudan, whether it is the population numbers, whether it is the economic viability. You consume data every single day, and you make decisions on the back of that. What you are probably doing, and what a lot of organizations do, is that they don't automate that access to data and make it more widely available. And that's what this practice is going to, that's what benefits organizations, right? And by providing this more structured approach, what you're actually doing is you are not only making your organization more data-driven and just making it easier to get information and make decisions, but you're also removing the inefficiencies that exist at the moment within your the mechanism that you're using in order to get access to this information. And what I tend to find is that when you start reviewing a kind of the current structure or how organizations are set up right now, you're going to find a financial manager that's crunching data on Excel spreadsheets, spending hours pulling that data together, and then turning into information, cleaning it, doing all sorts of things with it. And it replicates everywhere, whether it is your operations manager, whether it's your, I've seen CEOs that walk around with stacks of papers that have huge amounts of numbers on it, because guess what? They need to know how their organization is performing. But what they're probably doing is they've got a bunch of business analysts, a whole team of them that are sitting there pouring for weeks, months on end in order to churn out this information. Now, by being more structured, you are reducing that volume of data management and manual crunching. You're automating that, and you're creating a saving in terms of time. Now, depending on what your ambitions and goals are, that doesn't necessarily need to translate into a reduction in headcount or anything like that. But what it does is it saves your the time that is being allocated by your highly skilled talent pool, and you're able to now use them for other things, whether it is to consume the data in order to support decision making, or to find opportunities. I think about it, if you've got a highly skilled commercial manager and they're spending 80% of their time collecting data, you take that away from them. Now what you have is you've got 80% of that person's time back to go and do deals, to look at the data and say, hey, this is where I can make money. This is where I can improve the service that I'm delivering to my customer or my client. And that's the value of it, right? It's a direct correlation to performance, efficiency, creating opportunities, regardless of domain.
So a couple of things that resonated with me. I think you mentioned businesses rely on data, and I guess we misunderstand that data is not a new thing. It's just a part of business, but maybe because we don't necessarily give it that title, data and analytics role. You know, it just is part of the DNA of business. But then another thing you mentioned is, you know, a CEO, for example, walking with stacks of paper. It is overwhelming. And in our everyday business, yeah, we do go through tons of data, and we don't actually stop and really think of how much time we can get back, and in that time we get back, how much we can invest in realizing other opportunities and become more. We just don't think of it that scientifically. We just do it as a, you know, type of like day-to-day operations, business as usual type of thing. Okay.
And so this is where it stops, to your point earlier, where it stops from being dry to actually, it's a core part of your corporate strategy, and it's a core driver of how you do business.
Yes, because when you start to understand the data and work with it, and get outcomes by utilizing data in a particular way, you get a desired outcome. I think that's very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then the next question I have, and you